Listen,
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, can there be some kind of silence and order in the hall? Quickly. Because Mr. Aamir Khan has only 20 minutes and we must get...
नहीं नहीं मेरे पास बहुत टाइम है.
So, our moderator has already, Master of Ceremony has already given the introduction of all the guests. But quickly, yesterday Prime Minister gave a very big ambitious agenda to all the stakeholders. And he gave a plan that now you all stakeholders have to work towards it. One revelation I want to make to you all. Between India and China, there is a huge possibility of movies, cooperation, co-production and large deep partnerships. And we already have 2 goodwill ambassadors appointed years ago. One is Mr. Aamir Khan and another is Mr. Prasad Shetty. Then we have 2 Chinese ambassadors who have been working with India since many years. Stanley Tong and Peter Chan. They are award-winning filmmakers. And if you know Jackie Chan, he is actually an AI avatar. The real stuntman is who has become a big filmmaker. So, Aamir, over to you. Just contextualize this for us. What Prime Minister has envisioned and how are we going to make Indian creator economy and entertainment sector a global hub? And what role India and China can play in this?
Well, you know, I've had the opportunity to visit China a number of times in the last 6 to 8 years, 10 years. And there are a few things that I would like to share with you all, which really, you know, I think there's a lot of potential. First, I feel that audiences in China, the cultural, you know, flavor in China, the emotions of the people in China, they're very similar to the emotions of Indians. So the Chinese audience reacts in a very similar way to content the way that Indian. That's what my experience was when I was watching, you know, a number of my films in the screen in China, and the audience was reacting to Dangal, let's say. There was absolutely no difference between an Indian audience reacting to the film and a Chinese audience reacting. It was almost identical, the reaction. So I feel that there is a lot of scope and potential for a number of reasons. One, I think India has a very vibrant creative community, and so does China. China has got amazing creative people. I've been to China a number of times. I've seen their live events as well, and I've seen their movies. The standard of their work is clearly world class. And I think that that itself is a great opportunity for India and China to collaborate and work together. I think that whether it's creatively, whether it's on an emotional level, or whether it's even from a business perspective, I think it is only a win-win if, you know, we collaborate with China. And in fact, over the years, I have been in discussions with, you know, my friends from China, and we have often explored the possibility. But now with waves coming in, I think it'll give a further drive towards that. I mean, if you look at a film, Indo-Chinese film, if you have a star from China and you have a star from India, that's roughly half the population of the earth, if you know what I mean. You know, so you have a huge audience already over there. And both India and China have they're very ancient civilizations with a lot of history to them. Both India and China are very ancient civilizations. So I think there's a lot that both of these countries and cultures can offer each other. And I really look forward to a collaboration with talent from China.
Prasad, would you like to talk about how currently Chinese audiences are perceiving India, what kind of storytelling they would look out for, and what are the potential areas we should work?
So one of the things which kind of personally for me when I went to China years ago was that the way human emotion works, the way family emotion works, the way the value system about parents aspiring for their kids to be successful, worried about their marriage, even smaller details like, you know, how a parent will take care of its kids all the way till they are 40, 45. It's very similar. So I realized that one of the biggest opportunity Indian filmmakers had for China as a market was to tell stories which are very authentic to Indian culture. Because there's not so much difference between Indian culture and Chinese culture. So there is no requirement for say, okay, let's go back to the factory and find out what is that formula which will crack the market. No. We'll make good films here. We'll make good films anywhere. And China somehow has accepted the cinema from around the world. Whether it's Aamir's films, whether it's films from France, whether it's film from any part of the world. It's the story, it's the way the emotions have worked in your own country. That's the same way it works in China.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially with Aamir, you know, a few of the films which we worked together on. I remember a very interesting story about PK. And the first time, you know, I saw the film and, you know, it made me cry. I remember, you know, our previous panel guest was here. I saw it in Raju's office. And then my first reaction is that there was a Chinese assistant of mine who was laughing at the same jokes which I was laughing at with subtitles. I was understanding. She was crying at the same point. That gave me the confidence saying, oh, we don't really need to customize a film for a market. You just make a film with full honesty, with the craft towards, honesty towards the craft, honesty towards the story. And it just resonates.
Stanley, you have worked on 3 films.
How many films have you shot in India, Stanley?
I actually shot 3 films in India.
So why don't you talk about your experience working in India? Because what Prime Minister has envisioned is that we now create in India, shoot in India, and the story should be rooted in India. How do you react to that?
Well, actually, the reason why I come to India to make movies is like when I was a kid in primary school. When I always draw the Taj Mahal. You know, the building, the architect is so fascinated. And then when I learned martial art, the Shaolin Kung Fu, and I found, you know, Damo is coming from India.
Bodhidharma.
Yeah,
Bodhidharma.
and Buddha, the Buddhism, you know, I studied that. And then when I make the movie 20 years ago, The Myth with Jackie Chan, and I put in the Karate Paya too, you know, the ancient, you know, Indian martial art into the movie. Yeah, and I want to show, you know, a lot of Chinese audience doesn't know about Karate Paya too, you know, and also I found out there's so many beautiful scenery, you know, and a lot of great cultures that we don't know. And only when I come over in 1993, first time, I actually from the Himalaya to the south to the Bangalore, I tour around the whole country. And I found so many fascinated and so many stories that I want to make. So for the last 20 years, and I managed to make 3 films in India. Because I found India film, I learned a lot because India film always about family value, friendship, love, and social issue. You know, all of these issues is really resonate to the Chinese audience. You know, emotional and relatable storytelling that I think that in the future there's a lot of opportunity for us to be joined together because we are a good neighbor, and then we share our culture for thousands of years, you know. And I was just talking to Prasad, you know, on my way to India, and we were waiting on the launch. We talk about free story that are connected we could make together. I've been talking to Aamir, you know, and working together on some projects. So I really wanted to have more co-production between China and India. And just like what Aamir was saying, that we have huge population, we have huge follower for Bollywood movie and also Chinese movie. Why don't we make more movie together and we share our actors, we share our writers and directors, then maybe we can make some better film for the world. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Peter, would you like to throw some light on the way forward? Looking at your experience, what could be the next immediate steps that all the creators, filmmakers, producers should think about and start working on some projects? And what could be the framework? It will be co-production, it could be JV. How do we take the next step?
Before I answer that question, I have to admit that I am the least qualified speaker on this forum, Indian Cinema the Oriental Outlook. Because, I mean, to have my 6th degree of separation, my only association with Indian cinema was Shashi Kapoor when I was a boy in the 70s. Because I grew up in Thailand, half of my high school class are Indians, and I would be eating their lunchbox aloo prata, which I kept asking for that when I come to India, and my friend Prasad keeps saying that nobody eats that. You don't order aloo prata in the restaurant.
You don't get aloo paratha in Mahesh lunch home. You know, you should not.
Not in Mahesh lunch home, but you'll get it everywhere.
Everywhere else, don't.
I always ask for aloo prata. And well, that's my other association with Indian cinema was in 2005. I was asked to make a musical by 3 Indian investors. One Tamil Indian, one from Malaysia, one from Sri Lanka, and one from Hong Kong, to make a first musical in China called Perhaps Love. And I flew into Mumbai for the first time, and I met with Farah Khan, who was the top grossing director from Om Shanti Om. And she agreed to be my choreographer, and she brought 12 Indian dancers to be in Shanghai in a musical with all Chinese, but 12 Indian dancers. And so that's an anomaly. So that is not really an Indian-China co-production, but because we could use services and expertise from each other's industry, we got to work together. And I started making friends with Indian filmmakers, Aamir, Prasad, who lives close by in Shanghai. And then I also met with Raju. I was made by my assistant to watch 3 Idiots, where the first 15 minutes I couldn't get into because it's very different from my style of filmmaking. And it took me 3 to 4 times until I watched the whole thing. And I watched it 5 times with my daughter, with my wife, and then with my 3 different group of friends in the cinema. And that took me completely into the world of Indian cinema. And back then there was still a lot of song and dance. And now Indian cinema has evolved into something that is not strictly Bollywood, like we used to know Bollywood. So, and then I make friends with Kabir Khan, who has great stories to tell. And I think it's about time that we, of course, between the Chinese population and the Indian population, I mean, we have more than half of the population of the world, but I think we need to make movies for the world. I mean, half the population is not enough. And to be able to please each other by putting an Indian actor in a Chinese film or a Chinese actor in an Indian film, I think it's not the only way to go. I think we should make the movie that we believe, we love. If it's a local movie, make it local. Look at, COVID was a sad thing, but between COVID and the streamers, the world is watching Korean cinema in subtitles, Thai cinema, Indian cinema, series, and Japanese. And one of the greatest show I watched a month ago, Adolescents, they speak English with such a heavy northern grassroots accent that is almost like foreign language to everyone. So in that respect, I think any language or any race or any color, it's not the point. It's when the story resonates with you and you can make it, and we need to try to build a collective between filmmakers in Asia, because we do have enough of a calling power, because we have enough population in our own territory. And when we have movies that could appeal to any ordinary folk internationally, we should collectively bargain with the pipeline of distribution, which still belongs to Hollywood at the moment. Although Hollywood and the studio is still trying to figure out what is the future. Because with COVID and with the streamers, I think the studio is also trying to find out what's going on with the world ahead of us. I think this is a very good opportunity for us to be able to make the story that we love. It could be as local as possible, and I still believe in the word local is global, because we're all human beings after all.
So, very important points. Now we should dig deeper with Aamir. And before I ask Aamir to comment on that, there are three very clear milestones. One is 2013, when Three Idiots was released in China, and it did pretty well on the box office. Then 2015, Prime Minister Narendra Modi signed a bilateral agreement to co-produce films. That agreement exists. Then 2020, Dangal.
2016 it released here, so 2017 it released in China.
17
few months
in China. Again, a benchmark that how successful Indian movies could be in a market like China, because as a layman, we think language is a problem. I don't think for storytelling language is a problem. Absolutely not. So, and you pick up themes which are of universal appeal, shared human interest and human memories, that kind of films you have picked up. So today, if you have to start new work with ambition, with big scope and big scale in mind, what would be your roadmap?
Well, actually for me, I have to say that the way I approach cinema and approach films that I work in, it has to be a very organic process. So what we are discussing on a surface level, that in principle I think that there are a lot of benefits for talent in China and India to work together. But the best and the most organic way of that happening is through writing. So it is always the story and it's always the script that comes first, which excites a creative person. And it can come from a Chinese writer, it can come from an Indian writer, it doesn't matter. But importantly, it should excite, the creative communities on both sides, who actually feel excited enough to come together and collaborate and make something. And obviously, it should naturally lend itself to both China and India. So maybe actors, but certainly thematically something that connects the two. On a very surface level, you can say, let's make a big action film, let's have one Chinese star, one Indian star, and one maybe Caucasian star, I don't know. So that's a very surface way of looking at it. One can go that route, but I don't really...
that doesn't excite you?
That doesn't excite me. What excites me is a story that... Because, writing is a very lonely job. But the fact is that every film starts with one person sitting alone with a paper and pen. And that, is of so much value, I cannot emphasize enough how important that is. And that organic process of a person sitting and writing down a story, which naturally involves, characters from China and India, which it has to happen organically. You can't force fit it. I always believe that you can't force fit anything. It has to come organically. With the environment being created, with the fact that as creative people we are being encouraged, I personally have now over the years a very, healthy relationship with the creative community in China. So I really look forward to it because I've seen the level of their work. It's outstanding work that people are doing in China. So it would be a real pleasure for me to work with creative talent from China. But ideally, it should happen organically. It should happen in a manner which is very organic. I know that some films are made and a lot of them are successful, which are pre-planned. Okay, let's make a comedy or an action or a horror and let's, take these 3 actors and make it. So वो पहले project बनता है. First you make the project and then you write what you're making. You have to write a script around it. That's usually the other way of doing it. It's not that it's the wrong thing. There's no right and wrong in creative field. But I'm hesitant to go down that route.
So, with permission from our Chinese guests, because we want your message to go to the larger audience. Actually, अभी आपने हिंदी बोलना शुरू किया तो थोड़ा सा इस बात पे भी रोशनी डालनी चाहिए क्योंकि बहुत लोग ये समझना चाहेंगे क्रिएटर कम्युनिटी के लोग कि ये फिल्में
आप अंग्रेजी में बोलिए ना बेचारे समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं.
Okay. My next question to you is, but I want you to speak in Hindi.
अच्छा, okay.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know, y'all are okay with that? Dual languages? I think for our guests we should stick to English.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
That's why I prefixed
Or we
that
can
with
switch to
permission.
Chinese if you know that.
No, that won't be possible. Yeah, so I wanted to understand from you, because technology and innovation and the craft and formatting has changed. So are we talking about large screen cinema